A very good evening to all the participants. My name is Dr. Vignesh. I'm part of the National Digital Library of India team. And today uh, we are having a session, webinar on problems and prospects of online education by Sri M.A. Baby Sir, who was the former education minister in the government of Kerala. And a very good evening to all the participants. My name is Dr. Vignesh. I'm part of the National Digital Library of India team. And today
Today,
we are having a session.
sound today.
So, sir, now it's fine.
No, it's fine.
So,
Vignesh ji, is it audible?
yes, sir. So over to you, sir.
Yes.
Kindly invite
Uh, um,
Ganesh.
I'm happy to introduce Dr. M.A. Baby. He is one of the stalwarts of the Marxist Party of India, and now in the country, he is the one of the nine members of the Politburo of the Marxist Party of India, the highest policy-making body of the CPM. He's a widely traveled, internationally traveled personality, and he's a good speaker. And wherever he goes, a lot of people are assembling there to hear him. And when the world over, he is respected as a leader and as a uh, educator for all these Marxian thoughts. And in Kerala, he was MP of the parliament for 6 years as Rajya Sabha from Kerala, and later he became an MLA. Now then, during that time, he became the Minister for Education, Government of Kerala for 5 years. At that time, he was the chairman of the PN Panikkar Vijnan Vikas Kendra, an offshoot of PN Panikkar Foundation, controlled by the government of Kerala. He was because by act it is education minister should be the chairman of the Vijnan Vikas Kendra. During this period as chairman, he organized many innovative concepts, and he made this. In fact, he made this digital literacy possible. And in 1972, when we launched the digital reading, he only initiated. He only gave me all support to make it a reality. And through his, while he was the Minister of Education and chairman of the PN Panikkar Vijnan Vikas Kendra, he is the first man to support us. We can say that because till ninth year of Reading Month celebration, Reading Week celebrations commenced from 1995. We are not going to anybody to give us some support. But our MA Baby, he voluntarily, he asked in one of the board meeting, Balgopal, how much you are getting from the government? I said, nothing. But he said, you require some funds, you require some support. Then he discussed with the DPA. DPA also, Director of Administration, also sitting nearby. Yes, sir, we can give. And he announced that something will be going. Then he asked me, how much you want? I said, maximum I require 20,000 rupees per district. That means we are having 14 districts. That is 2,80,000 rupees. Then from there itself, he discussed the issue with the finance minister, Dr. Thomas Isaac. Both of them discussed and said that you have been provided, you will be sanctioned with 2.8 lakhs as grant to organize all your meetings. Though it was a small amount, but he only nursed us properly. And during his time, I said earlier, so many innovative programs were organized throughout India. We can say throughout India, because at the time we were looking after some literacy programs at UP and Bihar. Then he encouraged foundation to take it far and make it a reality. And wherever he goes, he gives much credit and much support to PN Panikkar Foundation. That is why I was very particular. In fact, I want to have him in this 24 webinars organized during the National Reading Month celebrations. Because in all these celebrations, he used to come also. He used to participate. In Delhi, we used to organize program. PN Panikkar Foundation used to organize programs, different programs. In all these programs, he is one of the main guests because he is giving all courage all strength to this movement. I welcome Shri M.A. Baby, Honorable PB member of CPM, to commence his webinar. I welcome you, sir. Sir,
Sir, maybe sir, your mic is mute. Kindly unmute your mic, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Balagopal and other distinguished friends who are participating in this webinar. The topic that is being chosen for discussion today is the problems and prospects of digital education. As we all know, the entire world, the entire humanity is now compelled to discuss how the education process can be taken forward, because the humanity is under the threat of COVID-19. Though there are certain different forms of restrictions and regulations so far as human movement is concerned, as a whole, the world is under a lockdown. Whether it is a very stringent and extreme form of lockdown, or whether some relaxation is available, that does not matter. As a whole, we are undergoing a lockdown of different seriousness and different ramification. For example, I am speaking from the capital of Kerala, Trivandrum. This city has a triple lockdown, meaning generally there are 4 directions you can go, but 3 directions are locked and only one direction is unlocked. Only in one direction you can travel. So in such a situation, this has become all the more important when schools and colleges and universities are closed down, when no literacy activists can move out to make illiterate people literate. We realize that we are compelled to take recourse to digital mode of teaching and learning. According to the information available from UNESCO, 154 crore students are affected by the lockdown. 154 crore students are unable to attend their classes physically. This is the gravity of the situation. So, we are now forced to explore the possibilities how the classroom, chalk and talk form of education, when we can restore that form of education, nobody knows how long these restrictions will continue? Nobody knows. So we will have to get reconciled with the new extraordinary situation wherein we have at least for few months, if not another year or so, we have no other option than taking recourse to digital mode of education, digital mode of literacy campaign, digital mode of conversation. Instead of seminar, we are doing webinar. The same will have to happen with regard to education also. At this point, I would like to make one or two fundamentally important points. Due to the compulsions, we have to take technology as a tool and aid to carry on with the process of education, whichever manner, to whatever extent we can successfully transact the education process. But this digital education form can be generally only an add-on, an addition, an additional tool to help the classroom form of education, the Guru-Shishya relationship, the physical form of education, the physical form of using the laboratory, using the school compound for students to go out and play. Teachers viewing the strengths and weakness of each student in a classroom, so that teachers should be able to pay personal attention to individual students depending on her mood, his peculiarity, his strengths, his weakness, her extraordinary abilities and things like that. Each child is different. Each student is different. Unfortunately, even in the classroom form of education, we are not in a position to give sufficient attention to individual children. That problem is already there. So when we move on to this digital form of education, the question of giving attention to individual pupil, individual student, it is getting further affected. So this particular thing we have to pay our attention to, and only because of the prevailing extraordinary situation that we are forced to make use of the digital platform also. This is one point. In future, we would be using the IT education and IT enabled education as an add-on to the formal classroom-based, laboratory-based, library-based, playground-based education. This is the most important. Second point, education should be through mother tongue. When we move to digital mode also, it has to be state specific, so that the mother tongue of that particular state would be used as the medium of instruction. At the same time, children should be given opportunity to study additional language other than mother tongue. Mother tongue means in Kerala, Malayalam is the mother tongue, but in Kerala there are students whose mother tongue is Tamil. So such students, minority language students in every state, should be provided with digital educational facility in their own mother tongue. This is also important. Now comes the most crucial and fundamental question. There is a digital divide, digital haves and digital have-nots. Digital education cannot reach in our country to large sections of students belonging to marginalized, poor sections of society. What is the data available now with regard to the objective situation prevailing in our country? According to the latest statistics, 31st May this year, so June, we are discussing on 9th July. So the statistics is 1 month and 9 days old. So it's a very, very, very recent statistics. In our country, only 58 crore people have digital access. Of this 58 crore, 40 crore people have digital access through their smartphone. Everything taken together, broadband, internet connectivity, it is 66.5 crore. Television sets are available for 30 crore. When we discuss the situation in Kerala, Kerala has better internet penetration. In the country, Delhi has maximum internet penetration. Delhi has 68% internet connectivity in relation to the population. In Kerala, it is 12% less. That is 56% internet connectivity is available. In the new academic year, when the Kerala government started gathering information and statistics with regard to the internet connectivity of the students who have joined the general education stream, that is the school education stream, of over 40 lakh students in Kerala. Only little more than 1% students don't have internet connectivity. This minuscule percentage, they don't have television set or iPads or smartphones. Just because it is a negligible percentage of families and students who are digital have-nots, if we may say so, that problem cannot be ignored. Around 1.5% students who belong to the poorer sections of society, they also have a right to education, right to digital education. So Kerala government initiated different schemes through which these students who belong to the category of digital have-nots, they are also provided with television, iPads, and digital platform, so that they are not outside the education process. They are also being brought into the general stream of general education in the state of Kerala. Parallel to this, with the help of the local bodies, up to 12th standard, the responsibility of education is being looked after by district panchayats. Though state government is paying the salary for teachers and all that, the overall supervision is handed over to local bodies as part of devolution of power, as part of the People's Plan movement. So they are able to, the ward councillor, the ward member, the district panchayat representative, they are able to identify the families where this digital study facility is not available. With the help of the local population, arrangements are being made in most of such places. So this is a massive movement. Incidentally, next year, 2021, would be the 30th year of Kerala becoming totally literate. It was 1991. The state of Kerala was declared of having achieved total literacy. The other day, somebody sent me a photograph of the program held in Calicut. So many important people were there to declare the state of Kerala the first state in the country, India, to have achieved total literacy. There was great author Mulkiraj Anand, Vakyam Muhammad Bashir, Kadammenettu Ramakrishnan, Sukumar Raviko, so many eminent people. I was also fortunate enough to be present in that function. One old woman from Malappuram, belonging to a minority community, Aishumma, that was her name, Aishumma. It was Aishumma who declared that the state of Kerala has achieved a total literacy in the presence of great authors like Mulkiraj Anand, Vakyam Muhammad Bashir, Kadammenettu Ramakrishnan, M.T. Vasudevan Nair, so on and so forth. Moidu Maulavi, Sukumar Raviko, very eminent people. Now, our target is to make Kerala 100% digital literacy achieved state. We are in that process. We have to, Kerala can achieve total digital literacy also. India can also achieve it. P.N. Panikkar Vijnan Kendra is undertaking this task of mobilizing various sections of people in this literacy movement as well as digital literacy movement also. But we are facing a huge challenge. We have certain obstacles in front of us. The basic obstacle is the fact that there is a digital divide. Poor people cannot buy these gadgets. They cannot get connectivity because their primary concern is to have some food, to somehow manage their daily life. How to ensure that both ends meet, especially with the lockdown and the lack of job. Manrega is not properly implemented. employment guarantee scheme is there, but it is not properly implemented. So people don't have anything to survive. When they don't have any means to survive, how can they think about education? How can they think about literacy, not to speak of digital literacy? So we have to address these questions, for which central government mostly and state governments should take practical steps. I don't want to go into that. Renowned economists have given various proposals, like a minimum survival support of around 7,500 or 10,000 to be given to all families, those who are not paying income tax. Those who pay income tax, they don't require any assistance in this COVID lockdown period from the central government or state government. But those who are not paying income tax, they need a support. If that support is being given, then we can tell them that you should learn, you should be literate. Continuing as illiterate is, in fact, blocking your progress in the social ladder. Education is very important. Literacy is very important. E-literacy also is very important. So, education, digital education, these are all most crucial, most important factors for the growth, development, and progress of any society. But the basic needs of especially marginalized sections of society should be taken care of. Only as part of that, we would be able to tell them the importance of education and the importance of digital education. Kerala has been showing a model in all this. During the past decades, lot of meaningful imaginative programs the governments of Kerala have been able to introduce successfully. When government undertakes such programs, voluntary organizations make a very important contribution in that. The People Science Movement, the Library Movement, and voluntary organizations like P.N. Panikkar Vijnan Kendra, P.N. Panikkar Foundation. All these streams contributed meaningfully for making Kerala culturally enlightened, educationally enlightened and progressive. In fact, in confronting the threat of COVID-19, Kerala has been able to show an exemplary model because of variety of reasons. In that, the total literacy of Kerala, the educational progress of Kerala. Through land reforms, there is a better equitable distribution of the state GDP in the state of Kerala. Women's education, women's literacy, this is also helping people to understand the directions coming from World Health Organization, ICMR, state government. Literacy and knowledge help people to understand how to behave in times of pandemic like COVID-19. So, learning, digital learning, these are all empowerments. These are all life and death questions. Knowledge can save people from the ravages of pandemics. I don't want to take much of your time because the period of COVID-19 is also teaching us that time is very precious and we should use time in a sparing manner. I have just touched upon some of the key issues related to digital education problems and prospects, developing digital education module in a democratic and scientific manner. This is also an important task. We have to pay serious attention to that. So we have to fight the digital divide. The digital have-nots should be provided with the wherewithal, the hardware. Only after having provided them with hardware, we would be able to teach them the software. Then IT-enabled education is the most important thing. And digital education and IT-enabled education can be only an add-on in extraordinary situation like this. The direct transaction of knowledge, critical knowledge, the ability of students to face challenges and find solutions to problems. This is what is most important. Moreover, we have to develop humanness in our children, sense of equality, sense of harmony. There are forces which are trying to divide our society. There are forces which are trying to communally poison the minds of children as well as various social sections. We should work for unity. We have great ideas like Loga Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, Vasudhaiva Kudumbagam, and so on. But we often don't quote such lofty ideals. Then we do wicked things, vicious things to divide people on the basis of caste, community, language, religion, color, region, and so on. What had happened to George Floyd in United States of America? It spread like wildfire, the protest against that. In our society also, such unfortunate things happen. Kerala is very different. Thanks to Srinarayana Guru, Ayyankali, Vaikundam Swami, and so many other leaders of the Renaissance movement. I don't want to name all those great people. Kerala is a society with great sense of oneness. Oru jati, oru matham, oru deivam manushane. One caste, one religion, one God for all human beings. This was a slogan given by Srinarayana Guru. Even in such a state like Kerala, some time ago, in Kottayam, one boy belonging to a so-called backward community. I don't consider backward and forward community. But technically, some sections are considered to be backward community people. Because of that, one Kevin was murdered by relatives of his fiancée. A shocking incident. So it is not only in USA, an incident like that of George Floyd happens. In our own India and Kerala and different corners of the world, there is a lot of enmity created between sections of people. Education should be able to teach humanism among children. So there has to be certain values that children would be able to gain through the process of education. Now we are compelled to take recourse to digital mode of education because of COVID-19. Even without COVID-19, of course, there were projects for expansion of digital education, true. But now this situation has forced us to take swift steps, fast steps to popularize digital education. But digital education can only be an add-on to the usual form of education. Classroom-based, playground-based, laboratory and library-based education, teacher-student direct relation is very, very intellectually and emotionally important. This is what I would like to place before you. Thank you very much for your very patient listening. I hope I have not exceeded the time being allotted to us. I thank the P.N. Panikkar Foundation, all those who have been working for its success, my friends who have given technical support to this exercise, and I especially thank the very energetic and youthful, moving spirit of this foundation, Mr. Balagopal, for having given me this opportunity. He has spoken many things in an exaggerated manner about me. Anyway, that is because of his affection for me. I hope P.N. Panikkar Vigyan Kendra would be able to take forward these digital education activities as well as digital literacy activities to the corners of our country. And like 30 years ago, in fact, 29 years ago, Kerala was declared totally literate. Very soon, we would be able to declare that our country is totally digitally literate also. With these words, I conclude my word. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful webinar. And so participants, now you can post your questions in the chat box. So as the participant post the questions, I have a question for you. Uh, Today morning, I went to the market. I saw two different things, and that struck me immediately. First thing was two young kids, maybe around 12 or 13 years of age. They were unloading the farm produce from an auto rickshaw and taking inside a market to assist their parents in the uh, market. So that's one. And another one, a small young girl, maybe 6 or 7 year old, she was assisting her mother in the selling of onions on the roadside shop. So having seen these two situations, what do you think, your opinion on how whatever we talk about the online education or digital education would support those downtrodden people who are really finding it very difficult to meet the ends at this COVID pandemic situation? So I would request your views on this uh, before we take the questions from the participants.
Thank you for raising a very relevant question. In fact, during the course of my presentation, I have partially touched upon this point. I said that for majority of people in our country, their daily survival is the most important matter. They don't have much to eat. They don't know how they would be able to survive. In such a situation, many parents are compelled to take their children in the agricultural work. In like a young 6-7-year-old girl assisting her mother in selling some of the farm produce on the pavement. So this is the condition of our country. So for us to speak to these families that you should send your children for education. Of course, as Mahatma Gandhi used to say, even when children go for studies, they should work in farm also. They should be able to get some training in some manual labor, some technical work and things like that. That is part of education. Job-oriented education is very important, parallel to theoretical education. Now we are discussing about digital education. But majority of people, families in our country, they are not in a position to send their children for education. So we have to develop methods through which we would be able to address these issues. So economic planning comes in this particular context. It's a very important issue. We would be able to, and overnight we may not be able to solve this problem also. It will take time. But since 1947, and after so many 5-year plans, still the country is languishing. with this kind of serious problems. And giving an income support like 7,500 rupees per family, families which are not paying income tax. This is one step. Then we have to motivate them that education is something which would help you to climb up the social ladder. This consciousness should be spread among village folk. Our P.N. Manikar Foundation can also contribute towards spreading such ideas. So multifaceted reaction is required to this very important issue that you have raised. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So the next question is from Miss Ganta Sharma, and her question is, sir, every year we were able to complete most majority of the syllabus by August each academic year, but this year we were not able to even complete 2 chapters. So looking at it, everybody is getting panicked, including the students, parents, and the teachers. What do you think is going to happen? And if you have any suggestions for them, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, this question, I am afraid, I trying to give a reply to this particular question at this point of time would be trying too much, which I'm not supposed to attempt to, because every state there are education ministers, there is human resource development ministry also. This is a particular question that those who are in a position of authority, heading education department in states and the center, they should discuss and come to a decision. This is an extraordinary situation. Humanity never ever faced this kind of a situation. Of course, during the world wars, Europe faced this kind of situation. I have read in some books that how the education system was totally closed down. In some places, alternate, parallel, limited, fragmented forms of education continued. This is the experience during World War in Europe. So this is also a warlike situation. How to face this invisible enemy, COVID-19? You see, that's a question before humanity. So we have to evolve methods. Gantha Sharma ji, she feeling panic, she or he, I'm not sure. It's like a gender neutral name like baby. So becoming panic is not a solution. This is the objective reality. So we have to think about alternate forms of education. We can also even think about promoting students based on their performance in the previous classes or previous exams, allowing them to progress to the next standard with some digital education or some form of communication with the students. We may have to think about that. It's a very serious matter. We have to put our brains together and we may have to find a solution to this extraordinary situation.
So the next question is from Mr. Sumit Kumar Mukherjee, and his question is: in this time of COVID period, private schools and college librarians are losing their jobs because management think they are irrelevant in this current situation. And he is asking, what is your opinion on this role of librarians in this time?
Thank you. No, there are two different types of education institutions. There are government controlled, government run education institutions. There, nobody is sent off. They're all being retained. Their salary is being given. I don't think there is any. Of course, I hear that in some states, part of their salary is being kept, saying that that will be uh, reimbursed or disbursed later on. Then there is another category of education institutions which are unaided, which are privately owned. Before I started this program, somebody from uh, Uttar Pradesh was speaking to me over phone, and I was told that these private institutions, they are only giving some online education now. This is a so-called affluent private education institution. They are giving online education only. Children are not going to school, but there is no reduction in the fee. And mind you, they even collect the transport fare from children, though no bus is operating. Then the parents asked, no bus is picking up our children from the home to the school. Then why are you charging for the transport? Then the reply of the school authority is that our driver is being retained and his salary we are disbursing. Good. If they are doing that, I agree that. So why some of the private institutions are not paying the salary is a question. They are collecting all the fee from the students. So they are trying to make an extra profit from the situation. Anyway, each problem has to be concretely dealt with. The democratic movement in that region, they have to take up this issue with the school management.
Sir, next question is from Mr. A. Sridhar. His question is, sir, what do you think about extending the academic year or cancelling the college exams right now and go for offline after some months, or can we do MCQ based online examination?
This also, like my reply to the first question, this is something which the central government, if it is, as this is related to the colleges, we have University Grants Commission and university authorities. They should discuss and take a call. I have my view, but I don't want to put it on record so that, somebody can say that a former education minister of Kerala suggested this. Then I do not know finally what would be the LDF government decision in Kerala. This is a very sensitive issue. So here in Kerala, we have a higher education council with Dr. Rajan Kurikal as the head. They have to discuss this and take a call. You can also give your ideas. Of course, you have suggested some ideas. So educational experts and vice chancellors, in consultation with University Grants Commission, there has to be a free flow of ideas. Then we should be able to come to a conclusion how to deal with this, again, I say, extraordinary situation.
Thank you for picking up the questions and for your wonderful session, sir. We are highly obliged for your presence and taking out your time from your schedule. We once again thank you for your participation, sir. Thank you.
Thank you all for your questions and your patience with me. Take care. This invisible COVID virus, nobody knows how this is going to attack, who they are going to attack. So I wish all of you safety. Take care of you, take care of your family, take care of your friends. Only medical science can help us to overcome this particular challenge. So education and digital education, how important it is for our life and our future, and our behavior towards the nature as a whole. It is also important. I think some of these pandemics are happening because of the unscientific manner in which we are dealing with nature. We are destroying nature, climate change, global warming, and things like that. These are all issues we should be able to, focus our attention in future, so that we would be able to not only take care of our individual health, society as a whole should be healthy. the health of our beautiful planet, this earth. Only when earth is providing us with a healthy atmosphere, society, human society would be healthy, human individuals would be healthy. This important aspect also we should be able to assimilate, and through different modes of education, we should be able to make this important point known to all sections of society. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So participants, I'm entering the feedback form for this session in the chat box. So kindly click on the feedback form URL and then submit your feedback there. And once you submit, you will be able to download the e-certificate of participation from there. I'm pasting it again in the chat box.
Well crafted speech, sir. Well crafted speech, and your vision for the country, and your that one of the panelists made a question that how this college is reducing the working days, etc., the syllabus, etc. No, you have wisely done it, because it is a problem of all education institutions in the country, and this has to be taken by the highest body of the government. Then only it will be acceptable to everybody. And you are very carefully touching all these aspects. Very kind of you for supporting us. We need your more support. In fact, during this 1 month program, we organized 23 programs as on date. So webinars attended by the top personalities of the country, and we have organized what is called competitions for the children in essay writing, in quiz program, in open art, storytelling, and there was good response in the country, in spite of the fact that during the COVID period, COVID-19 epidemic period, we could organize in a small way. P.N. Panikkar Foundation could organize in a small way with the support of the National Digital Library. Dr. Vignesh of the National Digital Library is the technical man who is completely controlling this program. He is the outreach officer of this National Digital Library of India, and National Digital Library of India, 100 crore and 1,000 and 1,200 crore project of the government of India was inaugurated on 9. It was not inaugurated. Something given to the country by the Ministry of Human Resource Development on 19 June 2017 at an August function organized at the Vignan Bhavan. And it is a honor for Mr. P.N. Panikkar. And the man behind all these things is Dr. P.P. Das and P.P. Chakrabarti, along with Dr. Vignesh. I thank Dr. Vignesh and all the participants in this webinar. And tomorrow we are going to hear the words of Manoj, what is his name? Manoj Ahuja, senior AS guy. Presently he is the chairman of the CBSE, Central Board of Secondary Education. And tomorrow he is coming, and he will elaborate us with how the CBSE students are mixing with this COVID-19 pandemic. And we are all welcome you to the tomorrow's webinar also. It's a very important session of a senior IAS officer of the MHRD, CBSE chairman. He's the chairman CBSE, and they're also part of our celebrations. CBSE is supporting him, ICCI is supporting us, and this National Digital Library, of course, then Niti Aayog, the whole of MHRD, school as well as higher education department. Both of them are supporting us. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, everybody, all the panelists, all the people who strengthened this movement. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.